Hi, my name is Cadence Burge, and you're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Chain Clankers Disc Golf Podcast. We have a champion, a world champion on today's podcast. Super excited to be talking to this young lady tonight. But before we get into it, I want to let you guys know about Upper Park Disc Golf. You can use promo code CLANKERS10 right now to get an exclusive 10% discount off your entire purchase. It's time to gear up and save before summer is over. Their disc bags are designed for comfort and durability, ensuring you carry all of your favorite discs with ease. We know our guest has a lot of their favorite discs, and we are excited to get into them and how she got introduced to them in the first place. But make sure you use promo code CLANKERS10 in order to save 10% on your purchase today, as well as it helps support the podcast, and we highly appreciate that. Today, we are talking to the 2022 AM World Champion, as well as Mixed Doubles World Champion. You heard her in the intro. Candace, how are we doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Super glad to have you on the podcast, and I want to know, what is your season looking like right now after going in and winning AM Worlds last year? What is your disc golf kind of career looking toward right now? Before we kind of get into all the journey and how you got here, let's look a little bit into the future. What has been your plan for 2023, and what do you think will be your plan for 2024?
So I'm trying to play as many tour events as I can right now. I think I've been to maybe like 5 so far this year, and I have a couple, including I'm leaving tomorrow and going to Mid-America. So I'm trying to play tour events, trying to play a bunch of A-tiers. Honestly, haven't performed as well as I would have liked to, but I did just cash in the most recent one in Mid-America, KC Wide Open. So and I've gained a lot of distance this year, so I'm feeling kind of good right now about that. Next year, I think I'm going to try and do some more things. So.
Nice. And so what is the kind of on the road experience for you? Because you're based out of Alabama, correct?
Yeah.
So is it just a lot of driving? Are you able to catch flights? What does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, so we've been driving everywhere that we've gone. It saves us a lot more money when we drive. I try to go as friends when I can, split hotels, Airbnb, whatever we can do. Yeah.
Nice. That is exciting. I commend you and all the other disc golfers being able to sit in a car that long and drive around, because I could not do it. That is something that would keep me off the road for sure. So more power to you. What were your thoughts of KC Wide Open? I know you said you cashed in that event. What were your thoughts? What do you think was working well for you in that event that allowed that to happen?
So I led the field in gained C1X putting. So I think that was really helping me a lot. I had pretty sad things to, but all I good, and then just making my putts. So it's kind of like all in all playing solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to dive deeper into putting. That is something I've written down that I want to talk to you, and hopefully you can help fix my putting, because some days I go out there and I feel like I'm unstoppable. I literally can't miss a putt, and then I miss that one putt and I feel like I'm in a world of hell for however long until I start feeling good again. So I'm super excited to dive into that topic, but I want to start with your disc golf journey. When did you first get into disc golf?
So my dad's been playing disc golf since I think around the time I was born, so like 7. And so he got in place, helped out with the yard. Now we got there, really young. I kept playing a little bit, but then I stopped playing for a year. I think I got kind of bored of it. Got mad, it got frustrating for a while, but then I came back to it a year later for some reason.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you first got into it?
Yeah. The first tournament I played, I was 8 years old in that.
Very young. And so then when you're 8 years old playing in a tournament, it's got to just be for fun. There can't be any of that pressure of oh, I'm not putting well today, or I didn't throw. None of those thoughts can even remotely be in your mind yet, right?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't remember much from when I was 8 years old. So I don't really know what was going through my mind, but I probably wasn't frustrated and mad. I think so. Actually, the one of the reasons I quit was because my dad would get frustrated at me because I didn't really know all the rules exactly, and so I would kind of just be like walking around doing my own thing. I would get in people's way because like I wasn't thinking about school. I just wanted to throw the disc, and so I think I was just unaware.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I can imagine. And so you take a break and then you come back to it. Talk to me a little bit about what it was like when you came back to disc golf.
So I came back. I think I was 10 or 11 when I came back. And I remember going to, I can't remember whether it was a league or a tournament. It was some sort of like competitive like thing though. And I played in a division against someone like a girl, like a woman, not a junior girl. I played against a real competition. And I remember like looking at the score at the end and I had beaten her. And that for some reason like really like inspired me. Like, wow, I can actually beat someone at this game. And so from there I kept playing like, I don't know, that just kind of sparked something in my mind that I can actually compete doing that.
Yeah, and was disc golf your primary sport, or did you play any other sports kind of growing up?
I didn't really play any sports that would probably translate to disc golf. I've done gymnastics, dance, stuff like in that area for a long time. Even while I was playing disc golf, I was doing that. I played soccer for a little while, but nothing ever like seriously. Disc golf has definitely been the main sport for a while.
Nice. And is disc golf pretty popular in your area in Alabama? Is it kind of growing, or is there like one course and you guys are just lucky if it's not packed that day?
No, I think we are actually a decent spot for disc golf. We have a bunch of courses near us. A lot of courses here in North Alabama. You can travel a couple cities over and you'll find an even bigger community in Birmingham.
You get back into disc golf, right? Playing a couple
Mhm.
more tournaments, I assume. At what point do you start being like, okay, I really like this. I'm going to take it seriously and I'm going to really start getting better?
I think so. I came back in like 2018, and so I think in 2020 I saw some sort of improvement. And that is when I really started practicing. I would go outside and putt. I would actually work on stuff, which is something that I definitely did not do before. And seeing that improvement, motivated me to keep trying.
Yeah. And when you were 2020, how old were you?
Uh, 13.
13. So 2 years later, you really start to get into it and you're really starting to get better, seeing yourself going out and practicing. And I commend you because I feel like it's hard to get 13-year-olds to go out there, even 16-year-olds to go out there and practice. I know when I was 13, I did not want to do any of that. I just wanted to chill. And so I regret that. I wish I would have been more motivated.
Oh, I did have a reason. It was because in 2019 and 2020, well, 2019, I was watching Junior World Scores. Um, and so I thought that was really cool because I remember seeing all the girls in like FTA 15 and FTA 18, and I was like, wow, I really want to be like those people. And so the following year in 2020, which was when COVID hit, I had planned on going to Junior Worlds that year, and so I was practicing really hard because I really wanted to do good there. But then it ended up getting canceled, and so I was very, very disappointed.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Okay,
I
okay,
just
and
remember
so
that. I just remember that.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean that makes a lot of sense. And so that kind of happens, right? You're in this position where you're trying to get a lot better. What were some of the things that you were doing that was helping you improve your game the most?
Um, so definitely the outside putting in the backyard. I have a lot of videos on my phone of just like videos of me putting in the backyard. I would go out there, and also That's when we started to going to leagues like 3 times a week and putting league. And I think just that constant playing just also helped build over time.
Yeah, kind of that consistency, and it
Yeah,
just makes all your motions a lot more like muscle memory focus instead of mental focus. Did you kind of feel that to where you could just kind of shut your mind off and your body would do what it needed to?
yeah. I think the repetition just of throwing and stuff definitely helped me overthinking certain shots in that way.
What was one shot that you were struggling a lot with then that you were seeing a lot more improvement the more that you would go out and practice?
Maybe like in a way turnovers because I just I don't know why. I am not good. I wasn't good at like throwing out an Annie versus throwing out a Heiser. I'm still not great at it. But that is one improvement that I saw was that I was able to more consistently get my disc to move left to right versus just Heisering out when I didn't want it to.
Gotcha. And so let's then talk a little bit about Am Worlds, right? So 2022, when you were going to this tournament, what were your expectations?
Honestly, I really wanted to win. I won't lie to you. If I had not, probably would be pretty sad. I had played Am Worlds the year before. I also played Junior Worlds the year before. I got seventh in Am Worlds, and during that time, I actually like was pretty happy with seventh, which is a little unusual because I feel like I find it hard to settle when I don't win a tournament because I know I can do better. I know I can play better than what I did to not get first. But in that particular case, I was pretty happy with seventh. I averaged way over my rating. But in the next year, I think I was like the fourth highest rated person going in, or like the third or something. And so honestly, I was really hoping that I would play well and win that tournament.
Okay, that's good realistic expectations to have. I mean, it sounds like it's not like it would be like me showing up to Am Worlds with absolutely no shot, being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna win this thing." So I think that's a good place to put yourself into. And so, talk to me about round one then at this tournament. Did it go the way you anticipated it? Were you like, okay, I need to work on this throughout the rest of the tournament? Or was it, hey, I hit everything I needed to. Let's just repeat today over again?
So the first round, and I played okay. I think I had like one or two bad holes from what I remember. I took like a 5 or a 6 on a hole that it should be a relatively easy two. And I knew that if I had not done that, I'd easily be in like second or third at that moment. And after the first round, I think I was in fifth or sixth. I was on chase card. I don't know which place I was in. But I wasn't too unhappy because I knew there was still 4 rounds left. And I
Yeah.
was still in like 4 back or 5 back.
And so, did your mentality change at all in that second round being on chase card, or were you just sticking to the same game plan you had originally?
I don't think my mentality really changed. I was pretty. I'm usually like pretty nervous during tournament rounds, and that definitely did not change being on the chase card. But I didn't decide to change anything. I kept everything the same.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so, what was the point in which you then in that tournament felt like winning was actually another realistic possibility? Like you came into it wanting to win, that was the goal, right? But then what was the hole or the moment where you were like, "Oh wow, I can actually win this thing. Like this is going to happen."
I actually, surprisingly, for like the first time in a long time, I wasn't nervous going into the final rounds. I'm not sure why, but I didn't feel nervous. I didn't really miss much. But I think on like hole, I think it was hole 16 that I was like realized that I think I was winning. No, it was 17 because my grandpa said something to me. Just like said something like "you got this" or just some affirming thing. Didn't tell me the scores or anything. So that made me think I was like, I'm probably winning right now. I think it was that moment.
Yeah. And so not knowing the scores, like let me back up. At any point when you were playing, did you know what your score was, or are you someone who you just check it after the round?
Well, it depends on the tournament and depends on how I'm doing. Sometimes I would like just get bored and check. In this specific tournament, I did not check. Didn't look for a single hole. I didn't know the scores until I was about to lay up on hole 17. So I was deciding if I was going to run it or lay up the putt that I had. And so I checked scores right before, and that was the first time the whole tournament I had looked. Well, the whole round I had looked.
Gotcha. So, do you think that gives you any kind of an edge mentally compared to someone who's checking scores constantly? Like, I know myself, I feel like once in a tournament round, I know what the score is. I feel like it's so hard for my mind to get off of what those scores are. And then I just feel like I'm making more mistakes than I was beforehand.
I think it depends on the person because some people can look at that and they can just clutch up. They can make the next putt. They can make the next drives that they need to know. I think I do better when I don't know because I know it don't want to make me more nervous. So I only really check when I feel like I need to make a decision based off the scores rather than if I'm just curious on where I am.
Gotcha. Okay. That kind of makes sense. And yeah, if you need to know what to do here, if you need to lay up or actually run it, have you ever been in a situation where you find out, oh, I actually have to run this, and you're like, dang, I really kind of wanted to just lay that up. Like it's like a tweener kind of putt, and you could go for it, but if you run it, you might be in some danger afterwards if you miss. Like, have you ever had any situation like that, and how'd that go for you?
I'm trying to think of anything where it was that close. I'm not sure. I know what I had a let's see. Last year there was an 82 where I basically had to birdie the last hole, and it kind of had this water thing, and the girl I was playing against just like laid up to the bottom, and I knew that I had to try to get over the like it was, I think it was a creek. I had to get over the creek, and I had to birdie the hole in order to force a playoff, and I ended up getting over the water, and then hit the band from like 30 feet on this raised basket. I have a really sad video of me doing it, so it's kind of funny to watch now, but that's like the only example I can think of where I had to try to make a shot. I guess on this most recent like weekends, I played a tournament where I didn't check scores until the last hole, and then I really wanted to birdie the last hole. I get there, I have about an 18-foot putt to birdie. I hit just a little bit too high in the basket, comes back out, and then I checked the scores right after, and that putt was actually to tie for first.
Oh, wow. That sucks a lot. I also feel though, like even though it came out, I feel like just deep down, maybe. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think you would have had any more pressure on that putt if you would have known it would have been to tie?
Probably, but also I wouldn't have because their scores didn't come in until like after we were already done. So
Okay,
like it would have been a little like if I had checked at that very moment, I still would have been like 2 or 3 back, and so it wouldn't have like it probably wouldn't have mattered as much anyways. But
gotcha.
I wasn't
Okay,
putting very good that round anyways. I don't know if that one helps.
gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so you get to that 17th hole, feeling good, and then you win it on 18, raise the trophy. What was that feeling like?
It was kind of felt like unreal. I I didn't even believe that I had done it at first because I had just been picturing that moment for so long and like replaying like how it would look in my head because I wanted it so bad, and just to act for it to actually exist just felt really like crazy and unreal for me.
Yeah. Was the moment what you thought it was going to be in your head?
Yes, it was. It was very
Really?
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's something where just in life in general, like a lot of people will like have this thought of what they think X is going to be. This is where I'm going to show you guys my culture, okay? Where I do watch Love is Blind. My wife and I have watched Love is Blind. Great show on Netflix, and it's just a blind dating show for all you men out there who have not watched it. But the whole thing is, you don't know what the person looks like, so then when you meet them, like you already have built this preconception, this idea of what you think they're going to look like. And so it's always interesting to hear someone in your shoes where it's like you have this idea of what winning that event is going to look like, and then it actually living up to that is just absolutely amazing to hear. And so then not only did you win the singles and world championship, you then also went on to win the mixed doubles championship also. Did that take place before or after the singles? Like, was that all the same event, or was it a separate event completely?
It it was it's supposed to be all the same event. Like M Worlds has like a week of events leading up, so it'll have doubles, like a mixed doubles thing, and then it'll have field events like long distance, putting, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll have the actual tournament about like a day or two later. But they're all connected. Like the PDJ is running them.
Gotcha. So what was that experience like? How was it different compared to singles?
So I think it's a way more casual environment because I feel like doubles itself is just way more casual than playing in a major. Because technically it was just an XC tier, so not just playing like a casual local thing with like some friends, and it's fun.
Yeah, and so then did you get to pick your partner, or was it all random flip, or like how did that work?
So the World Doubles format is a pick your own partner. So you'll have to decide there, and then place, and that was it. the first modified best shot and then modified alternate shot.
So for people who don't know what that is, can you kind of break down how that would look?
Yeah. So in the first round, modified modified best shot. So both of you throw off the T-pad and you take the best person's shot, and then you do the same thing for the upcoming shot. But in modified, it basically means that you can't take one person's drives 3 holes in a row. So like we couldn't take my partner's drive for 3 different holes in a row. Like so it's we take his drive on hole 1 and on hole 2, then we have to take mine on hole 3.
Gotcha.
I think it helps like one person not like be carrying the other person away.
Yeah. And how does that strategy kind of come into play? Like if like yeah, talk to me about how that strategy kind of comes into play.
It definitely comes into play because you have to think about like well, if you take somebody's shot on one hole and then you get to the next hole and one of you is just slightly better, then you might really want to consider taking the worst shot just so that on the next hole you'll have both options. Which
Mm.
I can't remember specific holes, but I do remember conversations between me and my partner where we did that multiple times where we decided to take one of our drives just so we'd have both of our drives on the next hole and give us a better chance.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart. And was it the same way with putting or just driving?
Putting was just regular best shot. Like if you make the putt, then you take that putt. Same for like say every other shot after the tee shot.
What was harder, winning the mixed doubles championship or the singles championship?
Definitely the singles championship.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I don't know. I probably played better in the singles thing. I wasn't playing bad in the doubles thing by any means. I wasn't playing the best I could have, but I wasn't playing bad. Me and my partner both missed some shots that we probably were a little disappointed, but we still won though, so that's the important thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That is awesome. Two-time world champ. You should talk to Discmania and get some discs made that say two-time on there.
I don't know if 2 times accurate though. In fact, before the doubles thing started, the people like running it made sure to point out this is not a world title if we won.
Really?
Yes, I am serious. They did. They told us like the winner, like you are not world champions. Like you're like the mixed doubles world champion. Like you're not a world champion because technically it's just an XC tier. It's not a major. So since it's not a major, you can't call yourself a world champion.
I would be writing two-time in my bio. That is ridiculous. Whatever. Technicality, schmeckality.
Technically, I have a putting championship too, so I got to do like 3 time. You know,
Three-time. Yeah, we got to talk
three.
to Discmania and make three-time stamps. That kind of makes me. So I do want to talk about the putting, but real quick before we get to it, I do also want to talk about all of the Discmania stuff. You got a Discmania shirt on right now. You're sponsored by Discmania. How did that come about? Like how quick into your journey did you get started with Discmania?
So like I said, I came back in like 2018ish, and so there's a girl in my town named Ratana, and Ratana is actually dating Eagle and Man right now. So
Oh,
I
no
was friend.
way.
Yes. So I was friends with her like before they were together. I knew Ratana. So I was friends with her and a lot of her family members. She has a big family here at Huntsville, and they're a big part of our community here. And so we were good friends. And I think right before 2020, she sent me a link to Discmania. So Discmania did this recruiting women thing. They wanted to sponsor some more women on their team because they didn't have very many. We still don't have too many, but at the time, I think they only had like 3 or 4 in the USA, anyways. And so Ratana sends me this link to like apply for a spot in Discmania's team, and they accepted 2 of the women, and I was one of them, and Ella Hansen was the other one. One of us is a little more successful, but it's okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Ella is older and has the ability to go on tour full time. I assume that's not a reality for you right now. Um, so okay, that kind of brings me to this question then. So like, Dad played disc golf. How do your parents feel about like it? Sorry, backtrack again. Do you want to do disc golf or do you want to go to college, or do you want to do both?
I really I can't. I haven't decided yet. I really don't want to go to college, and if I do go to college, I want to do it in some way that's like an online way that will allow me to tour. Also,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
can make money in disc golf, then that's what I'm gonna do. And if I
Gotcha.
can't, then I'll probably end up going to college.
Yeah. And
Sadly.
so would you say your parents are pretty supportive in that?
Yeah, my dad, I think that he really wants me to be able to tour. He tries his hardest to get me to all these tournaments that I want to get to, and all these A tiers and all these events. And so I think that he would love to see me tour in the future.
Yeah. And for anyone who's in a position like yours, what kind of advice would you say to kind of maybe get their parents on board also with this kind of a dream?
See, that's tough because my dad already played disc golf. He is just as obsessed with the sport as I am. So I'm not really sure how you would get someone who isn't already into disc golf to get into it. I mean, I feel like if you are out and practicing and working and doing your best to get better at the game, then they might be able to see that like in you and realize that this is something that you want to do and maybe support you more that way. Like when you're working on your school and you do all of your work, get everything done, they'll be like, wow, this is a hardworking student. They clearly want to go to college and do their best. Say, take disc golf. If you have
Mm.
practicing putting, going to field, they want to do their best in disc golf.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And let's talk about that improvement in disc golf. One of the things that you highlighted that is a big strength in your game is your putting, and you had mentioned those stats earlier in the episode as well. What are like three factors that have allowed you to become such a good putter?
So definitely putting all the time, putting in my backyard. I started putting less actually. At the beginning of the year, I was doing 100 putts a day, and I think I went for like 120 days, just 100 putts every single day. Like no reason to ever stop, even when I was sick. And honestly, that kind of felt like too much, so I stopped. But practicing every couple days. Negative on the outside, so I might say I'm gonna miss a putt, or like tell the person I'm walking with, yeah, I'm never gonna make this. But I feel like when I actually walk up to it, I don't really think that. I'm like, yeah, I'm making this putt. I'm gonna prove myself wrong. I'm going to make this putt. And also just like my putting form. Well, I think I have a pretty like strong putt. I feel like compared to other FPO players, like when you look at FPO, like some like I don't mean this in a mean way, just like not as strong, like softer putting. I feel like when you putt harder, it just more confident when it coming out of your hands. So I think that also helps.
And so, what are some keys to having a strong putt? Like, how would someone know that they have a strong putt compared to a weak putt, and maybe how could they kind of fix that?
I'm not sure how you can really fix it. I don't know where I adopted this putt from. I kind of watched my dad's putting form and tried to emulate him as close as I could. Well, that's one thing. I would say find someone and try to emulate their putt, first of all. So I tried to emulate my dad's putting form, and it kind of developed into my own putt over time. Now we don't putt anything alike, really.
Hmm.
But if you can find someone that you want to putt like, and then look at the mechanics and break it down.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but earlier you said you're more of a spin putter, right?
Really,
Okay. So, what are some key traits or key things you have to get right if you're going to be a spin putter?
I try to think about the mechanics of my putt a lot because usually that messes me up more.
So, let's think about it this way then. If you're putting and you find yourself missing a lot, what are some things that you're doing to correct that?
I try to slow down because a lot of the time when I am missing putts because I am doing the motion too fast and the timing is off. That's usually the reason that I'm missing putts, and a lot of other people it's just the timing of my form is off. I can see the way the disc is flying out of my hands, clearly not the way that it usually does. And so I'll try slow down. And that in those cases I usually do try to think about the mechanics a little more, even though usually it kind of messes you up when you're trying to think about the mechanics of your form while you're putting.
Yeah, and so I think that's a really good point you're making because I have seen this with maybe just some pros in town or just watching people on coverage just putting so freaking hard. A prime example is like Kevin Jones. That dude, I feel like, is putting 100 miles an hour every single time he putts. And I feel when you are an amateur and you try to putt that way, and I've played in tournaments, there's this one guy I'm thinking of who just putts as hard as he can every single time at the basket. And sometimes if you're off just slightly, you're going to miss or it's going to just bounce off the chains. And then if you would just slow down and just kind of play catch with the basket, you would make a lot more putts, in my opinion. Is that something that I'm thinking about correctly?
Probably. I mean, there's definitely a balance between putting too hard and not putting hard enough. I mean, obviously, I feel like it also depends on like the level you are. Kevin Jones doesn't completely miss putts when he's inside of 45 feet. Like he'll almost never completely miss the basket, even though he putts that hard. But a lot of people like who are not 10-40 rated, they won't hit it some sort of chain every single time they're 45 feet and in. So I feel like you're gonna kind of develop your own based on how you play.
Yeah. And so then when you're in the backyard and you're working on putting, what are some kind of your go-to drills? I know you said you're not doing 100 putts every single day anymore, but like when you are out there spending time putting, what are you just putting from one spot? Are you moving around the basket? Like how do you spend that time?
It depends on the day. So when I'm in my garage, we have a 2-foot putt in my garage, and usually I try to do about half straddles and half like regular, just stagger putting. Some days I will just do all straddles, some days I'll do all staggers. I stay at a pretty consistent distance usually. I don't really practice much outside of 30 feet, even though I probably should. But when I'm outside, I'll stand at about 25 to 30, and I'll just putt from there 100 times, not changing where I am.
Is there any reason why you're putting from 25 to 30 instead of like 15 to 20?
Um, so, I do putt from 20 when I'm in my garage. I try to putt from 25 and 30 because I feel like those are the distances that people are missing from, and if you're making all of those, then you're getting strokes on people. Like those, I feel like those are the really, really important distance putts. And when I'm 20 feet away or 15 feet away, I feel like I should make it every time. And if I'm practicing from like 25 to 30, those putts feel shorter anyways, and they'll feel like they're easy compared to the 25 footers and 30 footers.
Gotcha. And maybe you can pull on the 2022 Worlds experience, but in your experience in playing tournaments, what would you say is more valuable to the amateur disc golfer? Having a good putt and being solid on the green, or being able to drive like 400 feet?
I think it depends on how far the driving thing is. If you're three putting every time you get to the green, then putting is definitely the thing that you need to work on. I think it's the more important thing between the two. But at the same time, people act like you don't need distance to like shoot well, and you can only need putting. But I feel like for some courses you really do. Like I've picked up a lot of distance recently, and like some holes, some courses, they're so much easier. Things are so much easier. But if you can't put in the basket from like inside of 30 feet, then you're not shooting very well anyways.
Gotcha. So last thing I want to ask before we get you out of here, then you said you're picking up a lot of distance recently. What are some factors that have helped in that?
So my dad got me one of like those baseball nets for Christmas. So all those things that you see the like pros like throw it into, and that's in my backyard now. And I started throwing into that all the time. And I think just that constant throwing to the net over and over and over again, and making those small form changes and timing. The timing just kind of like got a little bit better one day, and I gained some more distance.
Awesome. There you go. So anyone who's looking to gain some distance might want to look to invest in a net. And then kind of like putting, you can also just throw in your backyard, which might be pretty beneficial.
It's so great. I can never get myself to go out into the field and throw because I hate walking back and forth. It's made it so much easier. I love my net.
That's fair. I also feel like when you're really trying to work on something, like maybe you're trying to stop rounding or something like that, and you just want to very slowly go through the motion, but you also don't want to throw a disc like 50 feet and be like, wow, I did not throw that very far. I feel like that's also like a kind of subconscious thing to like help, like, okay, I'm literally throwing 3 feet, like
True.
exaggerate the motion, work through it. And yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, this has been a fantastic episode. I've loved getting to hear more about your game and how to become a better, more confident putter on the green. Where can people continue to connect and follow you?
I am on both Instagram and Facebook at Cadence Burge.
Awesome. Well, there we are. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. If you guys enjoyed today's podcast, make sure you let us know over on Instagram and TikTok at Chain Clankers Disc Golf, as well as leave a rating review on Apple or Spotify and let us know how your putt is coming after this week's episode. And we will see you guys next week.